Hey guys, it's Craig. I just wanted to share with you. A lot of people ask about my training, so I wanted to share with you some of the training programs that I've been through and what I'm actually doing now. First of all, I started out with like a typical bro split where you do one body part per session. Then after that, I moved to chest, shoulders, and tries, back and bis and legs, which these days is called push pull legs. Just talking about the splits, though, kind of actually overlooks the content of the actual training programs, the variations in terms of how you exercise each muscle, in terms of intensifiers, in terms of number of sets, in terms of volume, et cetera, can be absolutely huge. So just knowing if somebody does a 3 day split or a 5 day split or does a full body workout really doesn't provide enough information to really glean anything from it. Looking more specifically, one of the sort of name brand programs that I did was called 531 training. It's popularized by Jim Wendler. Jim Wendler is a power lifter, so this was kind of a strength based program. This was when I was in my initial phases where I thought that you had to get really, really strong in order to get big. When running this program, it was awesome because I got to set PRs every day, which I loved. That said, I got strong, but I didn't get big. And that wasn't what I was looking for. I didn't want to be able to do huge lifts and not look like a bodybuilder. I wanted to look like a bodybuilder. So this program, although it was awesome, and I have no hesitation recommending it for anyone, and in fact, I have clients that run it. It wasn't what I was looking for. DC training or dog crap training was created by Dante Trudel, who's a bit of a figure in the bodybuilding community. It's essentially made up of rest pause training, which is where you will take a weight, you will do, say, for example, 10 reps with it, and then you will rack it, you will take 10 breaths, then you will go as many reps as you can until you fail, and then you will rack the bar, and then you will do another 10 breaths, and then you will do another set of however many you can do. The other thing that's unique about this program is that it incorporated weighted stretching. Since the program came out, it turned out that the research that's out there now has validated the theory that weighted stretching actually works. So, incorporating weighted stretching into the program was actually really smart, and that's something that you can incorporate in any program. It doesn't necessarily need to be DC style training. Another type of training that I did was mountain dog training, which was created by the late John Meadows. Lots of intensifiers in this, bands, chains, drop sets, iso holds, et cetera. Like just absolute torturous sets. Lots of fun. So a lot of people really appreciate the training programs that John put together. They're great. They're still out there for sale. So, I mean, have a look at them if you're interested in that sort of stuff, although be aware that it does require a fair amount of equipment. Another one was high volume training, which was basically 4 sets of 15 on everything. I learned that from Chris Cormier. Apparently, it was originally popularized by a lot of the older school bodybuilders. So prior to the Dorian Yates years, most of the people were like Lee Haney, etc., were famous for using 4 sets of 15 on pretty much everything. And yeah, the high volume, it was the whole theory was to stimulate, not annihilate, which is in complete contrast to what you have in, say, for example, mountain dog training or DC training, where you are trying to annihilate yourself. Um, yeah, so flipping back to this HIT training, high intensity training, this was popularized by Dorian Yates, Mike Menster, where basically it was one all out set on each exercise that you're doing for the day. Obviously, this has its advantages and disadvantages. It's a very low volume way of training. The difficulty with it is that if you are trying to progress your lifts, only having that little volume, some people can progress at that rate, other people can't. The style that I kind of used the most recently was called well, I mean, I don't, it doesn't really have a name, but it's the type of training that Hypertrophy Coach, who's Joe Bennett, and Matt Jansen often have their athletes do, where they basically do sets of 4 up until they reach a proper training weight as warm up sets. Then they will do a top set in a lower rep range of about 6 to 8, followed by a back off set, which is a slightly lower weight in sort of the 12 to 15 rep range. They'll do that on a compound movement. And then the movement that follows that will generally be an isolation exercise on the muscle group that was just worked in sort of 4 sets of 15 type fashion. The way that I'm training now, I have no idea what it's actually called. but I'm going to call it movement-based training. This is the style that I learned from Mike Van Wyck when I was training with him in Toronto recently. The focus is much more on the actual movement on the muscle itself, and only the muscle that you're targeting. So if you're doing a chest press, then you are using your chest. You're not using your shoulders and your triceps, or trying to keep them out of the movement as much as possible. A lot of the techniques are very counterintuitive and require a lot of unlearning of the stuff that I've learned, and obviously a lot of concentration as I'm trying to figure these things out. But that said, I really enjoy this style of training now. Obviously, as someone that's just coming back from an injury, using the correct form and making sure that I'm engaging the correct muscles is something that I'm very focused on. So I'm really grateful that I was able to learn this from Mike, and hopefully after putting it into application for a couple of years, then hopefully that'll have some positive impacts on my physique too. All right, so in terms of which one of these training styles is the best, to be honest, it's whatever fits best with you. It doesn't matter what kind of system it is, provided that you're training the right style of training that is in line with your goals. So, for example, if you want to be a power lifter, then do a powerlifting program. If you want to be a bodybuilder, do a bodybuilding based program. Outside of that, though, whether bodybuilding program A is superior to bodybuilding program B, to be honest with you, there's not really that much of a difference. It's just like many different ways to accomplish the same goal. The important thing is something that you can recover from, and something that gets you fired up and gets you into the gym wanting to train your ass off. Those are the most important things. I hope that the introduction to some of the various styles that I've been through, has perhaps opened your eyes, or perhaps given you some ideas of what you might want to look into for your next training program. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, put a comment in. If you want, you can contact me either on Instagram or through my webpage, which is craighumble.com/coaching. Thanks very much for listening. I'll see you next time.